Good evening. We are now calling the committee meetings to order. The first committee meeting is the Finance Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Rachel Tuchet-Muta. I'm going to let Kathy give us a roll call before we start.
Councilman Campbell.
Here.
Councilwoman Broussard is running late. Councilman Broussard.
Here.
You.
Here.
Councilman Wilson. Here. Councilman Orr.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. I will now hand the gavel over to Councilwoman Rachel Tuchet-Muta to lead the Finance Committee.
All right, we have a presentation for the budget of the 2025 budget, and I want to call on Steve Mosa to present that.
All right,
Steve, you have the floor.
and first, before we start, don't we have to offer something for the public to come up with information or any questions?
Chief, this is a Financial Committee meeting. It's you talk about public comment?
Yes, ma'am. Well, this is for the police department's comment because I dealt with the CPA for the city, but I did not get to address the council for my budget.
Okay, so let's open for public comments. Let the chief say what he has to say before we turn the floor over to Steve. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Chairwoman, you're fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. On the budget, I do have the. I think everyone probably has the same thing that I have that I received from Ron. And I have about 8 items. Most of it's pretty close to what you need to look at. But I have 8 items that I have questions, and it's just to bring it to the council's attention because I know when y'all say, is it in your budget? I'm gonna have to say it's not in my budget for a couple of these things. And then maybe we can address it here, or maybe we can't, but I want to bring it to your attention. Okay, here it is. First off,
What part of the budget are you starting with?
the very first part, regular salaries.
So in the general fund, regular
General fund,
salaries,
yes,
police
ma'am.
department. Okay. So council, that's going to be on page 7 of your budget packet. If you turn to page 7 in your binder. Okay, go ahead, chief. You got the
Okay.
floor.
First thing off, budget for the year for 25 is $1,400,000.
Mhm.
Okay, with our police officers as we are, with what our department is set to have, 32 officers, I have that we should have $1,601,000 for the year.
And chief, I'm going to remind you that that is based on the salary that you would like for the council to increase to. It is not based
No,
on
ma'am,
what
that's
you're-
based on the salaries that we get right now.
No, sir. And we're not going to get into this in a public meeting. Because the salary and pay scale is going to be adopted at the regular city council meeting. But I see on here, you have 40,000 as starting pay for a PTN, right? And you want to.
That's what our officers do make right now.
And 46,000 in 2025. Where's the increase of $6,000? This is the spreadsheet that you gave Steve Musa during your budget meeting.
I didn't meet with Steve for my.
I'm sorry, Donnie, for your budget meeting.
Okay. What I did is I gave him what we pay right now. Nothing changed except for 2% increases for the year of 25. And that's what it's totaled, 1,601,000. That is not using what the state law says the salaries need to be. That is what we're paying right now.
So what we did is take the actual payroll where we ended up for 2024 year end, and we kept the salaries the same. It's my recommendation at this time to keep that salary line item as is. At the next meeting, when you take whatever action you're going to take with police pay, any adjustments to the budget will be done and before we adopt it formally in the next regular meeting.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
If we need to amend the budget, we will, but it is not my recommendation to change it based on this conversation.
Okay, that's fine. That's
All right, go ahead, chief.
fine. Next one also for overtime budget. Overtime budget year to date is running about 90% for the month of October.
Mhm.
We had 2 more months, so what I did is I took what the overtime budget was for the year, divided that by 10, multiplied that number by 12. It's right at 368,000 which is about another 20,000 more. I know it's not a whole bunch, but it's a lot of money for our budget. And if you get 20 here, 100 there, 3 here, 5 there, it adds up to a lot of money that the budget is going to be short. And we don't have to stay on that. I'm going to go to the next one.
Okay.
Next one for uniforms. We
Mhm.
have a budget of 13,000. And the main reason I'm bringing this up is because uniforms are very, very expensive. To uniform one officer, a new officer, is about $950.
Mhm.
That's 3 shirts, 3 pants, and a pair of boots.
Mhm.
I have projected 3 more new hires for the year, next year. And I'm guessing it's going to be about 3,000 just for that part. And then we have 13,000. And if anybody gets a uniform tore up or anything, we replace that if it's on the job. So that's why I put it that we should have about 20,000 for uniforms.
Okay. All right.
And I can deal with that one. We can work back and forth with that one. Next one is on membership dues.
Mhm.
We pay membership for approximately 10 police officers to go to the gym. But with all our new hires, I have about 12 new guys that some of them would like to go to the gym, and I'd like to also pay for those guys. It's probably something that would help our insurance by these guys being healthier and going to the gym. I'm asking for 2,000 more on that.
And Chief, and I don't know, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this, but we do have a gym at the fire department, right? Do any of the police officers or anybody other than the fire department exercise at that gym?
No, they do.
But there's no reason why we can't, right? Okay, so it's an option too, just to know, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I'll let these guys know.
okay, membership dues, you're saying you would like,
I'm just asking for 2,000 more right there.
I'm not saying, okay, we're gonna do it, I'm just writing it down.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next thing, fuel and oil. We're guesstimating it's gonna be 70,000 for the year, but just by calculating the way it's been done so far this year, I'm guessing we'd be 78, almost 79,000 for fuel and oil.
So this is how we do the projected year end and the next year, just so everyone knows. What we do, Lonnie and I sit down in a room. We look at what the actual was for the given months that we based it on. So I think we did through October, so 10 months. We take that number, we divide it by 10 where we are, and we give that same amount per month for the next 2 months to project where we'll end, and we carry that number over for the next year. So Chief, this number is based on the actual usage for 10 months.
Mhm.
The same amount in the next 2 months. Are you thinking that you're gonna have more fuel usage in the next?
No,
2 months than you had year round?
By the way, I did it. We're at 72 at the end of October, and we have 2 more months.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing that we're probably gonna have another 7,000 or 8,000 per month.
For 10, I can maybe get this. No, I got 10. We did this for 10, right?
And also what I was given by Lonnie was something that showed the audits from 21, 22, and 23.
Mm-hmm.
Fuel and oil was 87,000 in 21, 103 in 22, and 91 in 23. So I'm guessing we're probably going to be close to my number of 78, 79,000 for 24. So that's about 9,000 short right there.
Okay, keep going, Chief.
Okay, this one. Next one, and this one is just, I know it's gonna be hard because we were told that because of, I gotta get the terminology though. Our computers. There's some additional programming that's gonna have to be done on our computers every year from now. And it's for, somebody may have to remind me, VPNs or something like that.
VPN is a dial-in, it's a login,
It has to do with.
access, like kind of a portal.
Yes, for all our systems, it's an extra $3,000 for the year, 3,000 and some change. That's why I put 4,000
And
for.
where are you suggesting that come out of? What budget line?
Needs to go
Computer
into
programming?
computers, into computer programming. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if that's programming, or I guess that is programming.
It's,
Okay,
it's computers for the year. It's, everything that we do at a computer.
okay. All right, what else, Chief?
Okay. Next one is, insurance risk management.
Mm-hmm,
And I know we have nothing to do with this part, except we're a big expense on it. But projected for the year, it says 320.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take the total for October of 286 divided by 10 and multiply times 12, I get closer to 343.
Okay,
That's another 23,000 right there. Okay. Just a couple more things. On miscellaneous, I have miscellaneous 20,000, and we easily maxed out this year because K9 is also in there. I'd like to do a line item for K9. Our canines, the training, they have to be trained regularly. They keep certifications up. They have to be brought to the vet regularly. Although they earn their money that we spend on them, it's still something that there's a lot of small bills that come in. I'd like to, if not put 5,000 more into miscellaneous, I'd like to do a line item for K9.
you think
5,000.
the annual expense is 5,000 for the 2 dogs total?
About 5,000 is what I'm guessing.
We did, Lonnie and I spoke about that today, and I agree we need to add the line for K9 so you can track it separately. So I think he's gonna make that amendment. It was just too late to do it today. Okay, what else, Chief?
Now we can get into capital outlay for right now. Might be the next page for everybody else.
Council, if you turn to page 12, to capital outlay, which comes from sales tax. Page 12, the top section is police department. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. On small tools and equipment,
Mm-hmm.
for the last 3 years, I guess we've had a budget of about 25,000 for small tools and equipment.
Yes.
I'm guessing this is for police car radios, police.
No, the 50,000 in this is for the tasers and the body cams.
No, but that's what it would have been used for any time before. And we're still gonna have to replace, radios, equipment. I have 2 cars right now I need to put radios in.
Uh-huh.
And, we usually had 25,000 in there. So we're also adding 25,099 for body worn cameras. And we're adding 19,464 for Axon tasers.
Yes.
Okay. That totals 44,564. So I have $6,000 for equipment out of this thing.
And how much think you need for the 2 radios? For the car?
Just the radios right now is just the last, on top of my head. I'll probably need, I don't know, $10,000-$12,000 for equipment this year.
Okay,
That's just for the cars.
okay.
Okay. I was just wondering, we shouldn't be putting this on line items for its contracts for cameras and also for tasers. I wanted to bring it to your attention. I'm not sure.
I don't think we need to do it separate. I don't think we need to do it separate unless the auditors tell us otherwise. So we'll check on that for you.
Okay.
And just a reminder, by the end of next year, we're gonna have a whole new accounting system where it's gonna be a lot simpler to drill down. So if all these things lumped into something, you'll be able to drill down very easily and see what your expenses were in that category. So my goal would be to eventually eliminate a lot of these individual line items where you might take out this one or that one and have a lump sum, and then we'll be able to drill down inside the accounting system. So next year, that will probably be the case. So if we leave it this year, Chief, it's for the ease of transition, and then we can change it the
Okay.
following year, but we'll check with the auditors.
And the main reason I'm doing all this right here, so I don't have to come to you in September or October and say, we need to amend the budget because we're short on this point or short on that. I think if we're ahead of the 40, we can at least keep everybody up to date and that we are on budget.
Okay, keep going, Chief.
Yes,
Mayor, if I might, I think the idea of the comments is for him to address agenda items.
Yeah.
Not the specific.
I know.
well,
So I
main
think
thing I'm doing is I don't have a path to address this. I don't meet with the council. I don't have a committee like I've talked about.
So Chief, just so you know, this budget is always a moving target for the city, right? We do cash accounting for a $26 million budget. It's always changing. it is gonna be my recommendation, even with all these comments, gonna be my recommendation that we adopt this budget.
Mhm.
And that we're gonna have to look at this in July anyway, when we do the renewal of insurance, because that's gonna be a huge cost. So at that time, we can amend the budget at that point.
Okay.
But go ahead and give your comments so the council can hear and you feel like your voice has been heard.
Yes, ma'am. And
I know it's not
just
really,
2 or 3
the
things
right
that we
format.
really need just for the council to be aware of.
go ahead.
For our grants, we have grants that we apply for,
Mhm,
we get,
mhm.
but we don't have a line item for them. So if there's nothing for auditing for Ms. Kathy or anybody else. If we get an $18,000 grant from, Evangeline Law Enforcement Council, we're pulling it out of somewhere else, miscellaneous or
Are those
something.
grants already written and turned in, chief?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Those are grants that we get yearly. And as long as we do the grants and we comply with the grants, we usually get that much or a little bit more every year.
Yeah.
We have 2 separate ones, one for highway safety and one for, criminal patrol. We actually bought bulletproof vests for half the department with the remainder of one of those vests last year. All we had to do is amend it. If you don't use it for patrol, you can buy equipment with it. But it comes out of the budget, but there's not a line item to check and balance where it comes from and where it goes. So I think we need to have one line item just for grants.
Well, in the city budget, the way we do it is we have separate checking accounts for the grants, for the individual grants. Kathy, in the past, how have we done it with these grants?
It's done this way. Nothing.
Okay, so you're particularly asking chief to put grants as an expenditure, and then that way all of your expenditures for those grants would come in and then
Yes,
have
as they come in, they go into that
a revenue line item
revenue,
for
and then it's
grants,
also.
police department.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We have a revenue line. What he wants to do is expense it from revenue. We can.
Yeah, you have to
Pay
put
an
it in
expense
the,
from revenue.
okay, go ahead, chief.
Okay, another thing that I think we really need to talk about, if we are successful in getting this building next door to the police station from Mr. Schilling,
Mhm.
I'd like to have some monies put in there to at least start yearly, doing a frame up, a roof, something where it's already in the budget. We don't have to come to the council 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, say, we need a roof on this building just to secure our evidence or whatever we're gonna be putting in it.
Mhm.
So I just put $75,000. It's something we need to consider, and maybe when we do the budget, we put something in there.
The problem is, chief, there's no more revenue to be had for additional expenses. We have $189,000 for the crime lab that we committed to this year, and that is something that is taking out of other projects that we can do, right? So that's why we didn't put extra money for that building, because we have to pay $190,000 for the crime lab this year.
We committed.
We committed to that, yes. Okay, go ahead. And that's not just you, that's a commitment for the city, but it is in the police line item.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
last 2 guys. One thing that I've been talking about is we need to replace that outside building, the little shop, whatever is in the back. We need a larger one. It needs to be a little bit wider. I want to put the gas operated side-by-side and 4-wheeler that the city uses for festivals. It is inside the building in that big closet in the back. It's not a good idea to have gasoline where there's a hot water heater.
Mhm.
So, I'm thinking $10,000. I think I could actually pay for it out of a different fund, but I don't know if I don't think I can purchase a city building. Maybe something like that, maybe, I'm not sure. Or we may have to answer that, because the city owns all of the buildings in town that the city owns.
You're talking about like a portable building, right?
Yeah, portable
Yeah,
building.
a portable building could be purchased from your sales tax because it's a new purchase.
Yeah.
Also probably, well, you don't have any minnows, so from sales tax budget. So you do have 15,000 in the budget for that between maintenance of buildings and grounds.
And I can do
Maintenance
that
of
with
machine
maintenance, okay?
and, you know, so there is you can use this capital outlay to purchase a building.
Okay.
If it's more than a $10,000 expense, we have to
No,
bring it to council.
well, I'm
first.
still bringing it to council, but
Yeah.
yes, again.
So, if it is new materials
Last thing,
and more than a 10-year life. Go ahead, chief.
for the year, we have capital outlay for autos of $35,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with $35,000. I don't think I can lease 3 cars, and I think we need to look at leasing 5 to 7 police cars in the future, in the next year, because most of our cars have 100,000 miles. And we don't want police officers driving around in something that's gonna fall apart. I do keep a good maintenance on them, but they are aging, and some of them have 150,000 miles,
How many vehicles do you have in the department right now, chief?
about 25.
25. And how many patrolmen do you have right now on the road?
Probably the patrolmen, the detectives, you talking about
Everybody that's
driving?
on the road.
25.
Okay. And I think you and I talked about this, and I said, if you want to look at the lease, let's look at it and we'll get those numbers and bring it back to consider. I don't think needs to be adjusted in this budget, but once we have those numbers, we can bring it back and we can amend it if we find that there's a need there for police vehicles. 35,000, what we did, council, just so you know, is we took the 60,000 that's normally in capital outlay. We flipped some money into small tools and equipment to cover the tasers and body cams, and left the remaining balance in capital outlay for autos. We did, you're going to hear in the regular council meeting, we did just replace one vehicle that was wrecked. It was totaled. We've had quite a few accidents recently. And the chief was able to replace one. This left some money in case he has to replace another one, or if he decides to purchase another one. I know we got something like 10,000 from Acadiana. Is it Acadiana that we got them from, chief? Yeah. We got 3 vehicles this year from.
Yes,
Yeah.
Acadia Parish.
And if the lease is coming, if we do go with the lease option, we can't take it from this budget line item anyway, because the lease can't be paid from capital outlay. So we would have to put the money into general fund if we go with lease versus purchase.
Excuse me, I have one more thing.
Go ahead.
I'd like to have a line item for professional services.
Mhm.
We have several needs that came up in the last year, I guess, where maybe we could use an attorney for the police department and also a CPA for the police department.
Chief, the police department does not have their own budget. The budget is managed by the city, so you won't have a CPA separate of that. Also, just you have to use the same city attorney, so that's not an option.
I think you'll have to provide me a city attorney.
The city attorney is Fort Broussard. We hire.
I mean, a police department attorney. If I'm.
Bring me the law where it says that, chief.
Oh, okay, I can get that. You can get that.
Okay.
But that's it. That's it. I just don't want to notify you about this. Thank you.
Thank you, chief. All right, moving on. Chairman Johnson.
All right. So we're going tonight's bringing the budget to the council. You have to go, it has to go through a 10-day waiting period. Of course, you're just releasing the budget tonight. So we're going to do a presentation. In the back of your packet, you have a handout, which is a draft presentation.
Hold on one second, Steve. Council, what I had Steve do, you have the binder with the full budget in it. What I asked Steve to do is put some graphics together. I think it makes it easier to go through it. It makes it easier for the audience who's watching. So your graphics, Councilwoman, are these right here. It should be behind that binded set, everybody. And then the binded set is the full budget.
Okay.
Okay, so Steve's gonna run through it. The graphics are kind of to make it easier for the audience to understand, but you do have the full budget, and he did bring printed copies with a few additional copies. And anybody in the audience that wants copies, there will be some available at City Hall after for the full budget. But the graphics are kind of just to help everybody see everything. Basically, I told him the questions we get the most, I wanted him to represent in graphics so everybody could understand. So go ahead.
All right. We'll open the presentation to the next page right here. This is the city's budgeted operating revenues. This is your general government revenues. This would be the general government ad valorem taxes, and it includes sales taxes and so forth. It does not include the utility fund. But just to show you where the city receives its revenue sources, majority of it is sales tax revenue. You have 3 sources of sales tax revenue. One for capital, which is the red pie piece, that's 21% or $1.7 million. You got sales tax from employees. You have 2 different sales taxes passed over the years that combine for 3.4 million, and that's for employee salaries and raises and benefits. That's 42% of the sales tax of all revenue coming in. And you have the sales tax just for public safety. This is 850,000 coming in, or 11%, and that's specific for fire and police. In additional revenues, you get almost $1 million, the light blue piece of the pie, which is 12% of your total revenues from franchise fees, licenses, permits. And then the orange piece is your intergovernmental revenue. That's coming from the state of Louisiana and other parish agencies like beer tax and so forth. And then your property tax, you're picking up just under $500,000, only 440,000 or 6% of your operating revenues coming from property tax. And then other revenues about 2%. So as you can see, you're getting about almost 75% of all revenues from sales tax, only 6% from property taxes, and then the other revenue, about 18 to 20% is coming from outside the city or from fees.
Oh, it's right there.
Sure.
So I want everybody to notice the number at the bottom. The amount of revenue that we bring in for property tax, sales tax, and all other revenues is 8 million, right over $8 million, right?
That's correct.
And then when we go to the next page, you're gonna understand where we're going with this. So $8 million in revenue from our general governmental operating revenues. That is not counting, when you're gonna see the deficit between the revenues and the general fund expenditures, the fact that we transfer in about $6 million from the utility fund, right? That's the only way we can continue operating is by the revenues from the electrical, not just electrical, from all utilities, which is our enterprise fund. So $8 million of revenue. Go ahead, Steve, you start with the floor. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sure.
And, property tax, that's the new tax or the old tax? I noticed mine went up fairly good.
So that's based on 2020, where we're gonna hit for 2024. So it might go up a little bit in 2025, not much. But just to say, for all the property tax we collect in the city of Abbeville, for all properties in the city of Abbeville, we collect $440,000 in property tax. So when people say, where all of my taxes go to, that's not even enough to do one road in the city of Abbeville, 440,000, right? And that's all the property tax we collect for the entire city. So that's why he says 75% comes from sales tax. We used to have is it percent or cent? I'm never sure how to say it. 1 cent sales tax that went to capital outlay. Before my time, when Mayor Piazza came in, healthcare was costing so much that they rededicated a half of that 1 cent to healthcare and retirement. Is that right? Rededicated. So we used to have a budget of 2.4 million to spend on capital outlay, which are projects and general government expenses. We now have 1.7 million to spend because we rededicated half of that to pay for healthcare and retirement costs, right? Steve?
Yes, that's correct.
And then the other, there is I think it's a 1/4 cent sales tax that is for public safety, which is fire and police. That generates about $850,000 a year. And then there's the 1/4 cent that we recently passed to give the across the board raises, which is, did I say it right? Is it 1/4 cent? Or is it, yeah, 1/4 cent, which is another $850,000. All right,
All right.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Got it.
So the next graph, we show the expenditures for the general fund operating for the police, fire, general government operations. The expenses total $12.2 million. And you'll see 45% of your expenditures are wages and payroll, just off the top. And that does not include retirement, which is another 11% of your budget, and health insurance, which is another 15% of your budget. So you're looking at 71% of your budget expenses for employees, healthcare, and wages and retirement taxes. So it's leaving you about 25% to pay for things like insurance, which is your liability insurance, buildings and cars and vehicles and so forth. Utilities, phone, lights, another 4% of your budget. Maintenance and supplies, 5%. And your professional services, just outside services and so forth, 6%. And then other operating expenses, about 7% of your budget. So that just gives you an idea. As the mayor pointed out, your expenses are 12.2 million for your governmental funds. And your revenues are 8 million. So the difference, the 4 million, it does come in from your enterprise or your utility fund. You rely on that system to pay, to help supplement the services provided by the city.
I also want to point out that this pie chart are just the salaries and healthcare and retirement that are paid from the general fund. So it does not include the salary and healthcare and the retirement that is paid for our utility personnel. So our utility personnel, all of their salaries, their insurance and their retirement comes from the enterprise fund. So that's not reflected in this chart. So when it says health insurance, 1.899 million, actually I did run some numbers before we came in here just to give you an idea. In 2022, our total cost with premiums, health claims, and drug claims was 2,494,465.80 in 2022. In 2023, the total for our whole insurance plan went up to 2,771,533.99, which was an increase of $277,068. And for 9 months in 2024, we're already at 2,160,000. So we expect we are going to be, we were at 2.8 million in November. So our health insurance costs will be up around we expect it to end around $3 million for 2024 when you put in all departments. So this 1.899 is just for general fund health insurance, not for all health insurance. So we expect another increase of almost $250,000 this year on health insurance. Okay, go ahead, Steve, you saw the floor. You have any questions on that chart for Steve? And we haven't been asking for audience questions, but you should, I guess. Any questions from the audience? Okay, go ahead, Steve.
So now let's just look at percentages by department on our next graph. We look at where we're spending the money, not by function of expenses, but by our departments. And here you see your fire department is 34% of your operating expenses, your police department's 30%, general government 21%, and then your parks 4%, streets 11%. So from your public safety, just to keep everything in line, you're spending 64% of your budget on public safety, fire, and police. And that's leaving your general government 20%, and in your streets 11%. Parks.
And I'm gonna say this again because I say it every time, and it's for those people, especially for people who say they go shop in Lafayette instead of Abbeville because the sales tax is so high in Abbeville. And the reason the sales tax is high in Abbeville is because we are the only city in the parish with a full-time, full-paid fire department, which means it comes with health care, it comes with benefits, and when there is nobody wants to pay a higher sales tax. So when your house is on fire, even if you live outside the city limits, you want our fire department to help out, right? And we do that willingly for the parish, and we cover that cost in our budget. We do get a little bit of supplement for the police shirt, but it doesn't nearly offset the cost of having that service. So the reason why you should still shop Abbeville, even if it's a little bit higher on your sales tax, is because when your house is on fire, you're going to want our fire department to go into your house. So, okay, you got the floor, Steve.
All right. So then now we'll look at the next graph. Just broke down the police department budget. I know we went through it earlier a little bit, but in the police department, on their total budget, they spend 51% on salaries, about 1.9 million. That includes payroll taxes associated with it. The retirement benefits for police officers is just over $500,000 or 50% of the budget. Health insurance is another $500,000 or 15% of the budget. And then just liability insurance and is 9% of our budget, $320,000, and other expenditures, supplies, so forth, is about 10% of our budget, $380,000. So it's again, they're spending about 80% of their budget just on personnel costs, related costs.
And that budget is $3.6 million.
That's correct. Now, for the fire department, overall budget's 4.1 million, and for them, they're spending just 2.2 million on salaries, or 53%. Retirement 17% of 685,000. Health insurance 800,000, 19%. So right there, you're looking at almost 90% of their budget for personnel costs. And the liability insurance is 240,000, 6% of the budget, and then other costs, supplies, and so forth. It's just under 200,000, 5% of the budget. There's no review in the cost for this.
So total budget for fire department, 4,120,000.
Yes. That's what I have for you tonight. Just the overview, the high points. Again, you are adopting a budget that requires.
Thank you, Steve. Very helpful, especially to present a pie chart. And especially when you see the pie is eaten by so much. So Chairwoman?
Any questions from the audience?
And council, any questions for Steve?
No, I'm good.
The major projects in there, just in case y'all want to know, we have the MOK sidewalks. They're about 100, I think we have 120,000 budgeted for that. 100,000 of that is state money that was given to us for that project this year. We have the $8.9 million water plant renovation. We expect that to eventually be 100% forgiven, but it comes at a cost at first. We have Graceland, which will be finishing up this year. Thank goodness for that. That's underway. We have, I'm trying to think what the other one is. Did you write down my notes from when we talked?
Yeah.
There's another one. I can't remember what the other big one is that we have this in construction project.
Sidewalk
That's
project.
the sidewalk. Oh, huh? No. Oh, on it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not gonna remember right. Oh, electrical. We have some electrical, some stuff we're doing to electrical. We have a building a control building at Pete Noel that needs the controls, and the building needs to be replaced. It needed to be replaced 2 years ago. We were able to secure some state funds. I think we have to come up with 88,000 on that one. And the state's gonna put up 200 and something for it. So those are our three big projects this year that we know we have some funds coming in, and we're gonna leverage local dollars to match. I'm sure I will be presenting additional projects throughout the year, and the chief also, and the fire chief, and Chris asked for some stuff in his departments. And right now, because we don't know what's gonna happen with health insurance in July, it's my recommendation to keep the budget as tight as possible. Everybody, there's a lot of people who did not get what they asked for. We have an opportunity to amend it mid-year, but I think right now we need to be conservative until we see what the healthcare cost comes back at in July. And councilman here and I are working hard to try to figure out how we can be fair to employees, but save some money on health insurance and offset that to other better salaries, more projects. But that's going to be a project. It takes time to get to
And
that.
council, to stay on point with this, the Health Insurance Committee is meeting with the company on January 29th
Okay.
here at City Hall. And we never stay comfortable where we're at, and we're always looking for competition in that market, which can drive down cost. That meeting will occur here at City Hall, and that is 10 a.m. on January 29th.
Any other questions? Ask any questions and then adjourn.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna adjourn the committee, the finance meeting.
We're going to roll right into the next one. Councilman Hort, you want to chair the next one?
Sure.
You're running a little behind, so I'll let you go ahead and start.
You want to call the meeting to order? This is our ordinance committee meeting. Number one, to make a recommendation to the city council to adopt an ordinance at their regular city council meeting scheduled for December 17th to approve 2025 budget and the amended 2024 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Number two, discussion to amend section 5, 259 to the sign ordinance to add vinyl as an acceptable material to approve blade signs as an approved style.
I move.
Second.
Mayor, what is that about?
Okay, council, you want to take it?
This is that particular sign. The sign ordinance began to be drafted almost 10 years ago. There are new materials now that can be made on a sign. Vinyl is one of them. And if you notice throughout the city, companies are using vinyl. This goes along with what the companies are using. So we add vinyl as an acceptable material for your sign. A blade sign, that is for buildings that do not have land in front of them. The sign goes on the facade of the building.
Like what we have here on
The
Congress.
vinyl here, visibility from both sides, pedestrians and vehicle. That business does not get shortchanged on their advertising. So That is for businesses who cannot drive a hole in front of their building to put a sign in. That was the purpose of that addition, to bring the sign ordinance language to today's popularity of businesses.
So currently our ordinance prohibits banner signs except as temporary signs with a limit of, I can't remember the days, but it's limited, if it's 30 or 60 days. Now they print on vinyl full color. The cost of a vinyl sign like that versus a harder material like wood or metal, I think we looked at it 2 years ago, it was 500 versus 100 and something. Those that have been on Concord Street, even though they're not an approved material, they've been up for 4 years and they're in better condition than some of the more permanent materials. So in 2021, I think it was, there was a discussion about updating our sign ordinance and it never happened. And so it is coming back around to add so that signs like that can be approved. Of course, when they get tattered, they'll have to replace them. But like I said, those have been up since 2021 and they're in great shape.
And let's say the biggest advantage is that when a landlord has a tenant change, you slide it out and you slide the new one in. No construction with that. Sign permit in the code office. So again, this is great. Those vinyl signs can be bought in Vermilion Parish and the money stays home. So it's a win-win-win for everybody.
I think our sign ordinance was created for a very good reason, and I think it was a great start, but we failed to update it given current technologies. And also we need to give every advantage to new small businesses to start at a lower cost, which I think this helps. So I'm in full support of this, and that's basically what it falls down to. Is there any questions or oh, go ahead, Tony.
Any questions from the audience?
All right.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Number 3, discussion to amend section 5-4 of the building permit ordinance to include language that electrical services shall be cut at the utility pole for those found constructing and renovating without the proper permitting, and to consider adding fines to contractors who do not obtain proper permitting prior to constructing and renovating a property. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You need a vote. You need a vote before.
You
You need a vote, yeah.
You need a motion and a second and a discussion. Let's reverse that a little bit. Go ahead. Motion, second, okay. Discussion, call for discussion.
Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Contractors who dump their building materials on the side of the road, are there any penalties for that included in the ordinance?
This is just dealing with permits. I think we did amend our, putting the trash. We did some stuff with that.
Briefly, I know we're running behind on time. Brian or Chris, can you address if you run up on a contractor who's putting his stuff on the road, how are we currently handling it? Can one of y'all answer that?
Notice of violation goes to the property owner. And they're required at that point to either remove it themselves or have that contractor come back out
And what is the threat to them if they don't? Littering
This-
citation?
well, it could be a littering citation if we can identify who actually placed it there by going through finding utilities or other correspondence sent to that address.
But if it's a contractor putting it at the road, if you run up on a building permit and the contractor is putting his debris at the road as opposed to in a bin, like what our permit says, what do we do currently?
For the contractors?
Yes.
So there's going to be no way to identify it except unless we could get
Except for the contractor be there on site doing it?
either being on site or having some video surveillance from another house, ring devices, whatever the case may be. Typically, we'll just go ahead and send notice of violation to the property owner, and they'll either contact us, letting us know that it was the contractor that put it there, they put it there, and then we go from there.
And Bart, that would fall on the contractor pulls the permit for the property owner. So that would be a civil situation between the contractor and the property owner, right? We would cite the property owner has to hold his contractor responsible.
Yes, and as far as I know, when they pull their permit, it's completely explained to them what the requirements are as far as the debris and other removal and disposal of.
And I think Councilman is asking, is there a specific fine on that permit if they violate that? Is that what you're asking, Councilman?
Yes.
Yeah, and the answer, I guess, right now is no.
No, and, that would have to be assessed by the council at that point.
And it might be able to be handled administratively. Let me look into, I know you brought this to me today and I didn't have a chance to look at it before the meeting. Or can you make a note to look at the fines for contractors doing that specifically, putting debris at the road? And we'll look into whether it's something the council has to do or if we can just do it administratively. It might be a fine that we can do administratively. So I'll bring that answer back to you, council. And, okay? Any other questions?
That motion is it.
You have a motion and a second, yes,
All
sir.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
All right. Number 4, to consider an ordinance that will set forth reasons the governing authority has determined to take action to lease the property located at 105 J.C. Bull Road, Abbeville, Louisiana, and fixing the minimum price and term of the lease.
106, just so you know, 106 J.
Yeah, 106. Okay.
I'll cover this real quick. I'm gonna let Bart cover it. 106 J.C. Warhol Road is the old Lions Club building next to the airport. For months, well, probably for years now, we've noticed 2 years, them not cutting the grass. One time there was water coming out the building. No maintenance. We've been trying tried for a year and a half to contact someone with the Lions Club, could not get in touch. Finally did get in touch with one lady of a husband who used to be with the Lions Club. It seems that the majority or all of the club is inactive now. We have had multiple inquiries on that property for businesses. And we have been cutting the grass and dealing with the maintenance on it. So we served them with or I'm gonna let you take over at this point, an eviction notice and.
That's correct. So the property's up for lease, but according to state law, we have to pass an ordinance and follow some steps. That's all we do here.
We've already.
Adopt an ordinance stating why we want to lease the property and we got to set the terms. I've requested an appraisal from Board of Appraisal Services. So as soon as I get that, I ought to have that for the next meeting to put into the ordinance as well.
So we're terminating the lease for violation of leases. Actually, there's some maintenance clauses, insurance clauses. None of that has been met. So we're gonna terminate that lease and look to release it to someone else. We have to put it up for bid to do that. So this is just, that's what this is. Any questions or comments? Okay. Yeah.
Did you not have a?
Don't need it.
Hello.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I hand it over. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.